Hello and welcome back to the first part of a very special double part episode of Outer Rim Rambling with myself, the Outlaw Adam Neeson, joined as always by the Jedi Knight, Danny Brown. Danny, my friend, how are you?
I am very good. I'm not sleepy at all.
Mm,
And we definitely haven't already just been recording a wholly entirely different episode and then realized that where we thought our anniversary was actually at the start of April, it's not. It's 2 weeks into March.
yeah, it's tomorrow if you're listening to
Which,
this. Uh,
yeah, like I think we kind of forgot because we didn't start on our own stream.
mhm.
I think it kind of it baffled us then when we were kind of looking back and being like, oh yeah, our very first episode, and it's like, oh wait, no, our very first episode was actually part of the Banterflix schedule.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're actually here now earlier than we had anticipated to be
Yeah,
like, oh my God, it's been a year, a
yeah.
whole year of Outer Rimmin'.
Whole year of fun. It'll be easier to remember in the terms of it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
Which is very fitting for us boys.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, it's been a full year, a year of we covered this at Christmas basically, but a year of us wanting to do a Star Wars podcast where we just chatted Star Wars
Yeah.
in a bi-weekly fashion, which soon developed into us talking weekly to people who have been in, who work on, who do stuff around Star Wars, and it has been more fulfilling and rewarding than I think either of us even guessed it would actually ever be.
Yeah. I'm still blown away, like every week by the different like messages and emails and like people we get on the show and reactions to the show and even like being at Dublin Comic Con 2 weekends ago and having going up to a stall and having somebody say it's the Ultra Rim Rambling Boys. Like it's been a wild ride, and to think that we're like the year has flown by.
Mhm.
The year's absolutely flown by because we've managed to keep ourselves so busy with Outer Rim. But I'm so thankful for it, and I'm so thankful because it's opened so many doors that I never considered possible as not just a creator, but as a Star Wars fan.
Mhm.
You know, to have spoken to Brendan Wayne, to have spoken to Tate Fletcher, to Will Sliney, to Ethan Sachs, to so many people, and not even the bigger names in Star Wars that we've spoken to, but even like the content creators, the likes of Lauren and Charlie and everyone else that we've taken the time to speak to hear how passionate and creative people can be as a result of Star Wars has also been so inspiring. And I'm incredibly grateful to get to be a part of this community in this space and to kind of give people the opportunity to hear from those many different voices
Mhm.
about the galaxy far, far away and the impact it has within our own galaxy not so far away, you know.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been a real wild ride. But as Adam said at the start there, we've got this very special two-parter today and Friday. We're going to
Mhm.
drop the second part on Friday because, again, it's another absolutely fantastic guest, which you'll hear in a moment. Don't worry,
Mhm.
we'll get there. But he's given his voice to many a character. But he is also a part of the Star Wars universe, and it might seem like in a small way, but in his own way, it's massive. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, Marc Silk was,
Whoa!
what?
Spoilers.
Oh, but if you read the title, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but he was more than generous with his time. A lot of
Yes.
people we talk to can spend an hour. I don't think there's ever been anybody who has said, "Look, I need to be away at a certain time."
No,
It
everyone's been
is,
so generous with their time, but Mark particularly was just so happy to chat. Like,
yeah. Mark was like, at the 2 hour point, we were sort of like, surely this won't go on. Not that we weren't enjoying it, but surely this won't go on for much longer because Mark will say, "Okay, guys, let's wrap this up." Um, by the end of the third hour, he was ready for another 2 hours, but it was literally midnight.
We were just like, it's time for bed.
Yeah.
But again, like such a lovely chat, and like we'll definitely have him back and
Mhm.
like no bother. And we're really excited for you guys to hear the episode. But we just wanted to kind of jump on now and acknowledge that, hey, we've been here for a year, and it's great that we are still, even into this year, able to provide you all with what we hope you think is premium top quality Star Wars content.
Mhm.
And just know that we hope in future that we can be able to, keep giving you these weekly episodes. Hopefully, be able to give you more two-parters because we have such in-depth, lovely conversations with our guests.
Mhm. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys listening. You know, a loyal audience that keeps coming back every week. I get people messaging me saying, "Who's on next week? Who's coming up?" And I do like to surprise people sometimes, but then there's other times where it's like we can't keep our mouth shut. It's like, oh my
Oh,
God,
we're so excited.
we
We
have
get
so many people coming on.
so excited. Like, you have no idea. Like, there's there's episodes coming up that we're also really excited for you to hear. And yeah, like it's been so much fun, and it's, as I say, getting those kind of emails or messages to be like, yeah, I'm gonna come on, and immediately like it'll be one of the two of us is like message or emailed this person, and then immediately I'll either message Adam or voice note him, just be like, we got him. Like, we're always so excited to have them, but we're also just as excited then when we get messages from people who are fans of the show. Like Adam, I mean, do you want to talk about your Vinted message? Because that still fucking that tickles me so much.
Yeah, a gentleman on Finted. While I'm talking, I'll
Pull
pull,
the name up because
pull in.
he's a listener, so I'm sure he'll appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, super glad that I was able to have this interaction with somebody on randomly on Finted. I favorited a C3PO headphone stand, um, and the person who is called Slinky, who has their own Twitch. Hi Slinky, if you're listening. Um, was like, "Is this Adam and Danny from the show, or are you just using their logo?" And I was like, "No, it's Adam." And he's like, "Oh, I love the pod." And I was like, for to have such a random, me just being a big sweat trying to buy C3PO toys, um, for to get caught in 4K, being like, "Is this you, Adam?" I'm like, "Oh no." But it's such a nice, such a random interaction, and then being at Comic Cons, bumping into fans, it's really nice. It's really rewarding. And then obviously, then like mom would be really emotional with each other. Working with you on like not a lot of people give up so much of their free time when you commit to like such projects. But working with you has been a breeze, my friend, and
Oh.
let's hope it continues to be a breeze as we roll into 2026 and into our second year, where things are going to get a little, what's the word? We're going to be a little bit more full on in terms of content. Um,
Mhm.
we can tease like Twitch stuff and more videos and reactions to shows and movies now that there is shows and movies coming out.
Mhm.
So you can more content is what we're saying. But thankfully, um, this is going so well that the prospect of this being a full-time thing is a reality rather than
Well, I
just a
mean,
hope.
it's a full-time thing. Like,
Mm,
there's no ifs or buts about it. Like, we do this full time alongside our day jobs. And yeah, as you say, it's been an absolute breeze working with each other.
mhm,
I think we both are so dedicated and have such a love for it that it's easy,
mm,
And again, we've been so privileged to have so many guests and people who are willing to talk to us that it just makes it that much easier too. And I think anyone listening to the podcast, I hope like you get that we're just here to have good, fun chats with people.
I think
Because that's really what
that's
it's all about.
yeah, that's like we've talked about it before. It's evident in the times we talk to guests. about what they've had for lunch, and
Mm.
they are sort of unexpected that that's what the conversation is, but realistically, that sets the tone as in like it's not. We're not gonna push your glasses up and be like, when you're in this scene, what did you do? It's fun banter with the boys.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll get into the more standard nerd questions,
Mm,
but we also just want to know what they think of Adam wants to know what they think of the Moped Gang from the Book of Boba Fett.
of
And I
course.
also want to be like, have you watched Skeleton Crew? Because I love Skeleton Crew.
But yes, thanks everybody for listening. Enjoy this episode with Mr. Marc Silk, and we'll let past Adam and Danny take it away.
The Congress of Malastare concurs with the Honorable Delegate from the Trade Federation. A commission must be appointed.
Die while you discuss this invasion in a committee.
You might know this gentleman from all of your childhood favorites, from your Bob the Builders, the Coco,
Pengoose.
Pingu, Coco the monkey from the Coco Pops ads, and Chip the wolf from the Coco Chip ads.
From the
I'm not the Cocoa Pops monkey.
He's not the Coco Pops monkey.
I can't believe you got it wrong already, Adam. But you know
Wik
what he is?
Wikipedia's
Johnny
done me
Bravo
dirty.
and Shaggy and Scooby Doo. He's just done so many things. I was excited. We met before. This guest and I we go way back. But one of the things I was most excited about is that he is the UK voice of Johnny Bravo. And not only is he the voice of Johnny Bravo, he hosted a talk show alongside oh, his name's gone out of my head already.
Is
We're
it Coco
awful.
the monkey?
It's not Coco the monkey.
It was
It's
Coco the monkey.
it was indeed Coco the monkey. No, it was Brack from Space Ghost.
Mm. Coast
Which
to
I
coast?
just Space Coast to Coast. Which it's just exciting. So who is our guest, Adam?
Well,
Who is he?
it's the man whose voice I often heard while having my dinner because I used to watch the Paul O'Grady show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul O'Grady.
Oh,
Ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, you know them, you love them, you can't live without them. Adam Neeson and Danny Brown.
Oh, you're too
Get that,
Live.
get that clipped.
Yeah.
But our fans might know him as Aks Moe from the Phantom Menace. Today, joining us is the legend Marc Silk. Mark, what's your opinion on this controversial McDonald's marinara sauce situation
Oh, I think it's a fascinating thing that will only be resolved in wrestling, by wrestling.
Oh,
in
so we get
marinara?
Nothing to. I stay clear, but I was just so focused on my own meal this evening. I was just so thrilled by what was on the menu that I couldn't get emotionally attached to the marinara.
What
Regulus.
did you have?
What are you eating? What are you munching?
For dinner tonight, I had Pueda lentil cottage pie, served with carrot and sweet potato mash, served with seasonal greens and a rich vegan gravy. That's right, vegan gravy. For men.
And what's that made from?
Yeah.
Not sure.
Mm.
Mystery brown juice.
But that's Danny's nickname. It's cool. But
Hey, you weren't supposed to tell.
before we started, you went and treated yourself to a nice plate of biscuits.
I certainly did.
And what can you reveal to the audience? This will be an exclusive.
I can. To both of your listeners, I would like to say, join with us now as we play Guess the Biscuit. So, Adam, what would your guess be to the biscuit what I have beneath the camera?
I'm gonna go for a classic rich tea.
Danny, what's your guess in tonight's Guess the Biscuit?
I'm gonna guess. That there's maybe two different types of biscuit. Is there?
Controversial, Danny. Time's running out, Danny.
Oh, bourbons and custard creams.
Time and my patience.
Oh no!
That's right. You're both right because you said ginger biscuits. Absolutely fantastic. These are remarkably good.
Are they proper McVitie's ginger biscuits, or what's your brand? What's your biscuit brand?
I don't want to cause any fights between brands. Let's just say a marvelous, delightfully, satisfyingly expensive, reassuringly costly ginger biscuit.
Okay, going for the BBC response. I
Yes.
see. Other biscuits are
Other
available.
biscuits are available. You need a license to eat this biscuit. The biscuit license is going up to £180 in April. £15 a month, or an absolute bargain.
The Big Biscuit Company, they need their money. So Mark, regale
Why
us,
does anyone listen to this?
because it's all chat. It's all
But it's
just
good.
top quality
I'm enjoying
chat.
this. See, this is good. There's so many obvious questions people could ask me. Go, do you know what? This is what friends do when they're hanging out. You go, what did you have? What did you have to eat? And before we'd even spoken, Danny reveals the news of the night. I probably stink.
Probably stink. Yeah, exactly. The hum of garlic is palatable. But
Captain Brown tonight playing Captain Whiffy. It's Danny Brown.
Only garlic though, folks. I promise. Until later. Anyway,
I like make toast just by breathing near it.
yeah, garlic bread for everyone. To be fair, there was garlic bread as well involved in my dinner because you have to. Anyway, Mark, Star Wars,
How
you
you
love
doing?
it?
Seeing you here. By the way, Adam,
Mm.
I love the fact that you've got a Winnie the Pooh on your shelf.
Yeah, like this is my partner's office. I don't get the pleasure of having any of my things apart from uh let me grab something that's mine.
Is that a figment in the background?
It is a figment
Holy
bag.
moly! I love I'm a massive. Oh, hello, yeah. Well,
That's
you
mine.
we got matching stuff here.
Yeah, we're showing our Muppets
Will I get my Kermit?
collection. Yeah.
My Kermit's on top of Jar Jar.
I won't tell.
What, I have Kermit on Jar Jar?
Yeah, it's very cool. Well, there's a lot of Muppet going on tonight.
We
There's
love them.
you got a Kermit and a Gonzo here.
Mm.
Is that a hat or a popcorn bucket? A figment?
It's a bag. It's a backpack.
Was that from Disney?
It is, yeah. It's an Epcot exclusive.
Of course it is. I have multiple figments here.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
my original figment that I got 100 years ago when my mum and dad first took us to Epcot in 19. It is back when it was the actual proper Journey into Imagination ride.
Oh, you're telling me you don't
Before
enjoy
they ruined it.
the crazy Eric Idle version?
Journey into your imagination. Journey into we're going to ruin this ride for you. It was about 3 times as long as it is now.
Mm.
It was stunning, and I met Dreamfinder because before it was a different ride, and the current Figment isn't really Figment.
Mm.
It's a character called Figment. It's more an annoyance rather than Figment was just so full of joy. Although the connection between Muppets and Figment
Mm,
for 10 points.
I'm gonna guess. Was he created for Muppets 3D?
No. So,
Were you not the monkey for the Cocoa Pops?
it's this kind of accuracy that keeps both of your listeners hanging on the edge of their seats. Oh, thank you. Oh, we've lost one of them. We've lost 50% of the audience.
Oh no.
Figment, when they redid it, Figment was then they had a new voice actor come in because the previous one was dead. So they had the previous one die. And he was wonderful, the original voice of Figment, because it was just so full of joy. But the new Figment, he's sort of an annoyance because of how it's being written. But the voice actor is a legend. It's Dave Goelz, Gonzo.
Oh.
And he's a total legend, Dave Goelz. I've never met Dave, but I'd love to meet him. But an absolute hero.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so nice to see Figment.
Have you watched the new Muppet Show?
Yes. Have you?
And?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. What did you think?
I loved it.
I also loved it.
I was laughing out loud, smiling during the opening titles, the actual recreation of the original titles,
Mhm.
and those titles were perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think was it 3 million people watched it when it was on regular TV in the States.
Yeah.
Sounds
It
about
was
right. Yeah.
the reaction that it had was stunning.
Mhm.
And, I hope this means that we're going to get a proper reboot with the Muppets and treat it right
Mhm.
Mhm.
because it deserves it. It's treasure.
Yeah.
It should be, like, we're just joking about Figment. We weren't joking. We're so serious. But it's those things when these characters have a heart and soul and understanding what makes these treasure and precious. It's if it you know it takes a certain mindset and for someone to get why it works in the first place.
Mhm.
Because anyone can just put a puppet on their hand and anyone can do the approximation of the character. But there's all the talk of Kermit sounding different, and because obviously it's a different puppeteer now. I was a big fan of what Steve Whitmire did with Kermit because Steve worked with Jim.
Mhm.
And he wasn't just like taking on the role of Kermit. He would spend time with Jim Henson, working on Sesame Street, working on the films. He was there. He knew why it worked
Mhm.
because he knew Jim.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. It is interesting when anybody else takes on the role of a character when the original performer is no longer able to do it for whatever the reason is. It's a big thing because it will never be the same characters without those original performers doing it. That's why Gonzo's still Gonzo. It's still Gonzo.
Mhm.
Mhm.
As it's Dave Goelz performing Gonzo, and they've done very well with characters like Elmo for Sesame Street side of the Muppet world. That performer's very good, and there's some other people that aren't doing the whole thing very well. But with when Frank Oz stopped performing those characters, it's no longer the same.
Mhm.
It's still you can still enjoy them and still find a different kind of love in the fun of the whole thing, but it's inevitably going to be different because it isn't the same people performing it, and so much of it came from them.
Yeah.
It's just say if somebody else performed any character or even if in Vision, whatever it might be, because with the Muppets, and you get this a lot. A lot of people go, "Oh, their voice has changed, or it's a different what's it like? How do you create the voice?" And with the Muppets, the voice is just a part of it because the performers, it's the whole thing. It's not just how it sounds; it's how it looks, how they live and breathe and move and exist together. You know,
Mhm.
it's a real treat to ever get a chance to watch somebody that perform those puppets up close.
Oh, I know you got to experience some of it because one of the first times I met you was with former podcast guest and our good friend Tim Burton in Ballymena in front of five other people. But
One of my
afterwards,
larger audiences.
one of the biggest audiences. It's two more than what we have listened to this podcast. So, but we had the event in the Braid, and then you, me, Tim, and my other friend Adam all went to Gillies for some food and we drink. And afterwards, Tim was like, "Oh, Danny, do your Kermit voice." And I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll try. And Tim, so I did my Kermit voice, and you were like, yeah, that was all right. I'm sure you were just being polite. But then you were like, you want to see this? And you pulled out a picture of you with Steve Whitmer, and I was just like, oh,
yeah.
like that just sort of blew
That
my
was
mind that you were hanging
that.
out with Steve.
God, it was such an incredible night because I'm a massive Henson fan, and I learned so much from just watching those shows, the original Muppet shows, the original Muppet films, but also what every now and then with what you do, there's certain things that that help change or focus you on what you want to do for the rest of your life, or they were part of that jigsaw that made you want to do what you do for the rest of your life. And this one day, I was like 10, and this documentary came on TV called "Of Muppets and Men." And it was the full length, like hour long documentary. There's the book that came out as well, which is part of my treasure as well that I have. And it's this beautiful book, hard to find book these days. But it's all behind the scenes of the Muppet Show, the original Muppet Show. And I remember seeing this, you see this scene of the Muppets, but you realize it looks different to usual because it's shot on film, and the Muppet Show was shot on video, and the camera pulls out, and you see all the puppeteers underneath these Muppets, almost like getting their faces not knocked by a motorbike on a support, and it was oh my God, that's how they do this. There's all these people involved in this, and there's, so you got there's Fuzzy, which can be two people operate, if it needs to, and different. It was one of those moments where you go, that makes me want to do what I do now. And Steve Whitmire was working with them as Rizzo the Rat and other, supporting characters. And then I was working on Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway as that voice you heard on a Saturday night I did a lot of that kind of stuff around them. And it was so much fun. So it's me that you heard going, it's Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway. Tonight, special guest Adam Neeson and Danny Brown. Now, that. And the show that I went to go to this after show party. So I went down to watch the whole thing go out live, which was really exciting. And there were two main guests. The one was Kylie Minogue. So she's like, there. And as the surprise guest that they had at the time was Kermit the Frog. And they didn't know that he was going to be there. And I was just in awe of being able to watch Steve Whitmire. I just sat where the audience sat near the front, but I was in just total awe of being able to see Steve performing Kermit, where you didn't see, the camera doesn't show you this, but it showed you just the precision and how he moved and the whole thing lived. And the thing was a surprise. Kermit greeted them. Then the camera, so you see Kermit talking to them as Kermit as a surprise. Then the camera switches to them. Then off camera, an assistant that we didn't know, we hadn't even noticed, suddenly takes Kermit off Steve's hand and puts onto him another Kermit dressed as a Blues Brother. And then Kermit then gets in position in this, underneath this pretend amplifier, I think it was, and starts, and it was, and they all start singing "Everybody Needs Somebody to Love," and it was like lightning fast. But Steve's ability to move around so that you never saw him, underneath Kermit was incredible. The skill of the guy was fantastic. So I was watching this as a fan and as a professional that adored his work. And then afterwards, we went up at this party and got a photo of Ant and Dec and me eating a sausage roll. And then everyone wanted to meet Kylie. I just wanted to see Steve Whitmire. And of course, probably the most famous person known at that point equally was Kermit. Mm-hmm. Nobody was going up to Steve because it's this guy that just looked like a biker with long hair. And I went up to him and we just chatted, and it was just like, it was a real privilege to get to spend some time with him. But yeah, I mean, he was great. But yeah, Muppets, yes please, more please.
More Muppets. And have you been to see obviously still Muppet people, Muppeties, Muppet puppets, but Labyrinth for the 40th anniversary? Have you been to see the re-release in the cinema? Did you go?
I haven't seen it in the cinema. I've got the 4K release on the 4K Blu-rays, mm-hmm. and I went to the Museum of the Moving Image, and I've been there a bunch of times in New York to see their permanent Jim Henson exhibition. So they've got a Skeksis there and other things that as a puppeteer will break you back, mm-hmm. And it's fascinating. Very dark film, but just technically stunning. And again, as a kid, Jim Henson came on Blue Peter and brought the puppets from Labyrinth on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just incredible stuff. That's something I loved about him too. The fact that he showed you how it was done, mm-hmm. and a lot of people are very protective over that, not wanting to let you see how the magic's done. And to me, it makes it even more magical. It doesn't spoil the fact that, oh, that's how it's done. I've got even more appreciation for the artistry of what they do. Yeah. And it's treasure this stuff.
Yeah. The craft is incredible. Like I loved it. Wrote one of my papers in uni was on Jim Henson and the Henson Company and his efforts in children's television, and the how his whole approach was to talk to children on their level, not talk down to them, how
Yep.
to encourage creativity and all that. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. He was encouraging creativity by showing his creativity, how he did his thing.
You said about Labyrinth. I actually did work on a Labyrinth project a couple of years ago,
What was the
and
Labyrinth project?
it was a Labyrinth game, but like a brand new state-of-the-art pinball machine.
Oh, I did see this on your
Proper
Instagram.
arcade
Yeah.
grade, the kind of thing you'd find in a theme park somewhere, or in a high-end collector's edition. But oh my word! And Brian Henson had to okay everything that I did,
Hmm. I'm
and
always that
so
like.
a treat. It's that and Adam Savage, MythBusters.
Hmm.
He's a huge Henson, huge Labyrinth fan, and they took they gave one of them to him. And there's a video of him on YouTube playing and seeing how this whole thing works. I nearly got to go and meet and spend time with him, and they couldn't, because of his diary. They couldn't lock down the date, and I had to make sure that if I was going to fly out to California, that he'd be there. I'm sorry he's had to go. He's busy. Well, of course he is, but. Yeah, but I ended up doing lots of wow, that's exciting, all these kind of very there were lots of very Henson-y voices that I was doing for this particular project.
Lots of goblin noises and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this topper on top of the pinball machine, and there's three heads, and they look like goblins from Labyrinth, and they've got actual wig hair. And they move, the heads move, and they berate you as you're playing this thing. You got to start playing now. You got to start trying, come on, let's see what you can do. You time waster, all this stuff. And they talk to you, but as they move, like the head moves, but the hair moves like a real wig, like real hair.
Brilliant.
It's a really fun game. If you get a chance to see Labyrinth Pinball, treat yourself.
Yes.
You want to.
Speaking of Adam Savage and Labyrinth, all of it's connected to George Lucas. Danny, did you see that segue?
I was gonna say I was also gonna work on the the producer segue. Yeah.
Mark can't believe the professionalism for this podcast. But
From
yes,
garlic to rice to George Lucas.
but you worked with George Lucas obviously on a Phantom Menace, and there's that I'd say very famous section of the documentary where he's working with you in the booth. So before we even get into working with it, are you sort of glad that footage exists as sort of like a time capsule of you being on a Star Wars project?
Well, much like I love the fact of this precision. You really do know your stuff. So, along with the Cocoa Pops monkey, I'm not actually in that documentary. That's Lewis.
Turn it off.
That's Lewis. That's Lewis McLeod.
But you know what? There is a picture of you with George Lucas.
Yes, there is.
This does exist.
But there is video.
That's
I haven't seen that. Yeah,
that's the video I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There is video of me with George, with Mr. Lucas, that I took. So back then, this is pre-camera phones, pre-web, pre-this. And I took my little mini DV camcorder with me to Abbey Road. We recorded at Abbey Road Studios. And I just asked, would it be okay if we just got a little moment with George and myself? And he went, sure. And you kind of go, I can't imagine that happening now.
Yeah.
Because of just all the embargoes and all the everything. And I didn't share it with anyone because you don't. Mm-hmm. But by the way, anyone watching this, I'm just eating a biscuit. I'm just snacking. We're recording this quite late, and it's worth it. We all need snacks every now and then. Yeah. Get yourself a beverage. Enjoy a little nibble.
It's okay. We're an audio medium. It's fine. But we might put out just that one clip of you being like, I'm eating your biscuit.
It's a fascinating thing to observe. So, but yeah, so there is video that exists of Mr. Lucas and myself, and in fact, it meant so much to me to be there, because there were the documentary I watched the most as a kid, again and again, was the making of Star Wars, because it had everything. If you think what we just said about our love, our affinity of Muppets and this and Disney and it all involves technology and characters. It's characters and stories, in whatever form, whether it's the technical side, the creation, the performance, whatever. And Star Wars had everything. So you got, Frank Oz, Yoda. You've got, also as a sidetrack, as a kid, to go, that's Fozzie Bear and Miss Piggy. Yoda is the same performer as Fozzie Bear and Miss Piggy, and then just the whole fascination of the process and how this works just keeps on dialing up, and so, but Star Wars. So you got you got obviously in the later movies the Frank Oz connection. Then you've got all the puppetry, the early animatronics, the wires and cables operating these different things. Then you've got Industrial Light and Magic. You've got motion control camera. You've got Ben Burt on audio. And seeing him finding the sound of the laser guns on this guy wire on this type that he hit with a spanner that goes when you hit it, and you go, that's a lightsaber. It's a light gun. And then you see him creating the sound of the lightsabers. And this is like, it's a masterclass in creativity. He made characters out of the robots. He made characters, he created the sounds of R2-D2. And that, he gave R2-D2 a voice with amazing sound design. And then you get into John Williams in the mix, when you go, oh my God, without that score, it's not Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It turned it, and at the time, if you look at what people were using as soundtracks in movies then, at that point in the 70s, it wasn't necessarily big cinematic scores. It was, it was like funky guitars and other stuff. Not to take away from the scores, but it wasn't on that sort of grand cinematic level. And to go back and bring in John Williams to create the score, it's a different movie because of how he elevated that film. And I've always been a huge fan of John Williams. He's a soundtrack to our lives, and because of my connection, just because of my love of it, I guess, and the connection with Star Wars and being fortunate enough to be in it, I now host Star Wars symphonies. Mm-hmm. We've done 4 of them just at the Royal Albert Hall, and are you kidding? It's like, it's a hell of a lineup. So it's the Royal. When you imagine how you'd feel, Danny, when you think of it, Adam, you got the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and me live at the Royal Albert Hall for the Star Wars Symphony. And you go, are you kidding? And each time we did it, we had to put on like an extra show in the afternoon because of the demand for tickets. And I think it's over 5,000 people per audience. And the vibe in the room, the atmosphere in the room is incredible. And when we're like creating the script for this, you sort of go, well, I'm a Star Wars fan. Everyone in that room is going to be a Star Wars fan, pretty much. And so if I'm a Star Wars fan, put me in that seat. What do I want to hear? What's going to make me cheer or get goosebumpy or it's touchy or what do I want to hear? And there's obvious things that that you have to have. Name that Star Wars tune now. And then there's other things when you got a full symphonic orchestra. You kind of go, well, you got to have the cantina. You have to have the cantina band. Mm-hmm. And the most recent one I did, I think in Royal Albert Hall, we did one in Birmingham Symphony Hall as well, which is my home city. And oh God, the atmosphere in that was just incredible. But I think I looked at the running order and the cantina band wasn't on it. And I said, we have to have the cantina band. Because if you're in the audience, guess what you want to hear? Play the cantina band. So it's that. Because it's so much fun, and of course it features virtually not much at all of the orchestra, and when you play the cantina band, it's horns and percussion and kind of it, and just the rest of the orchestra are just there smiling, laughing.
Having a good time.
It's having a good time. In fact, when we did the one at Birmingham Symphony Hall, the most recent one. There's a guy I read. We had a letter from John Williams to say thank you for doing this, and I'm thinking this is just thank you for the letter, and and then I turned to my left as I'm reading this thing. I see the guy on the cello, and he looked like George Lucas. I think he's got the beard and the thing, and I'm thinking, you look like George Lucas. Mm-hmm. So I actually put this online on social media a couple of days for John Williams' birthday. So I read this letter out, and gets this great reaction. I'm just there reading slowly so that everyone hears it, and I don't trip up with just sheer joy of the moment. And then you hear me go, and tonight on cello, George Lucas. And the whole room explodes laughing, including the orchestra.
Yeah.
And if you watch that back on social media on my Twitter, Facebook, and the Instas, it's at Marc Silk, Marcsilk. If you have a look, you also see the conductor go, what? And then turns and looks at the guy and goes, because it just all clicks. And the orchestra's clapping, and everyone's laughing. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
But, I'm not quite sure how we got to that point, but what a joy.
Yeah. Well, it was to start with working with George Lucas, but just on your point about the Star Wars concerts, like the Star Wars concerts are fantastic. I mind going to one of the ones that Tim had organized with the Ulster Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
And they had the 501st there, and it was just fantastic, And I loved, especially someone like Tim, who is so passionate about John Williams' work and the way he crafts together, the set list, and he has to get Leia's theme in. You've got Across the Stars. It's just everything, and to see that, the other concert I've been to was the Star Wars in concert where Anthony Daniels did it, and that was a whole other level.
I went to that too, yeah.
Oh, and I went to the Liverpool one, and then in the arena they had all the costume stuff around the edge, which I was like, this
exhibition.
Oh, incredible, absolutely incredible. So events like that are so important, and for you to play a part in those sorts of events is even better for fans, because not only are you in Star Wars, but you're passionate about it too. But more importantly, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the Ewok celebration or the victory celebration?
I think I prefer the original.
Of course, yeah.
It's the original. It's that.
Yep.
It's do you prefer the new Journey into Imagination or the original?
Well, yes, yeah, okay. I wanted to check. I had to be sure. You know. So in terms of Star Wars, so obviously we can tell you're quite passionate about it. You've enjoyed being a part of that world in terms of working with George, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But I want to kind of tap into where it starts for you. Where does your love for Star Wars really begin? You were watching the making of Star Wars documentary as a child. When did you get into it? How did you get into it? A lot of people will either say, "Oh, I got into it through going to the cinema for the first time," or maybe I had the part of the Force toys. What's your Star Wars experience?
I think I might have even had the toys before I saw the film. So I didn't see the very first time I saw the original Star Wars was on TV when it was first shown on ITV in the UK. And it was this event, this TV premiere. And being able to take the cinematic universe that George Lucas, Ben Burtt, John Williams, and all these other amazing talented creatives made, and shrinking it down into pan and scan on a 4:3 CRT television with commercials. It's exactly how you want to see it. But even then, it was great. And then as soon as it came out on VHS, that was, again and again. And then ever since then, if there was ever a documentary I could get my hands on, I'd watch that, and you just watch it over and over, and I think I probably watched the documentaries even more than the films, because it's like this stuff's, there's certain things, I can hear it with you. It's baked into your DNA. It's just every little thing. You don't necessarily live and breathe it every day, but it's always there, this love and understanding of the bigger picture, and if there was ever a version that came out, I would see it. When they released the special edition, I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I remember going to see it with a friend out there, and there was something extra exciting seeing it in America. There was this extra vibe because of that, and that was kind of like and whether or not you're a fan of these special editions, with all the earlier CGI, which has since being refined. But and that was an exciting moment, and again then, obviously when I worked on Phantom Menace, when that was released, oh my God, I went to the cast and crew preview at Leicester Square at the Odeon. It's just incredible. And again, before camera phones, before any of this stuff, but I took my little camera with me. So I've got a few pictures of us outside there. I was respectful and made sure that we didn't get anything inside. In fact, I saw a friend outside after the film coming out, and he got all these, he dressed up for it, nice and smart. I said, I didn't know you'd be here. And he went, well, yeah, they cut me out of it. I said, I didn't realize you were in it. He said, well, I'm not, they cut me out. Really? And it's interesting. I've never. This opens up another interesting question. I'm guessing there's other stuff we haven't seen yet. Maybe. Okay. You hear about. I heard recently that they found this extra hour or so of Gremlins that has never been shown, and they've got the original print. They're going to remaster, restore the whole thing. And there's going to be like, a 25-hour version of Gremlins coming soon. But it just shows there's often stuff in the vault that even, now you might not get to see.
Yeah,
but it's a real treat when that happens.
Yeah, is there not chat that there is meant to be a 3-hour version of Revenge of the Sith? There's going to be a longer cut if you go even based by what is in the book, the book adaptation of Revenge of the Sith. Like, there's so much content from it that was cut out that you're like, oh, imagine they put that to screen,
Well, it's always interesting when you hear that, because often it's been cut out for a reason. And with your knowledge of that, do you think it would be a better film if this other stuff was in it?
For Revenge of the
Sith, very
high. I like to take a
Danny's thinking sound.
My thinking sound is just for dogs only. But whales. Yeah, I'm with. I speak fluent Wales.
Got these dolphins fascinated right now, going, "What's he going to say?"
They keep knocking. But yeah, I think about with Revenge of the Sith. I'm happy enough. I think it's like fairly close to Star Wars perfection. But I would say something like Attack of the Clones. Yeah. I would like to know if there's maybe some extra stuff, especially when it comes to the Anakin Padme storyline. Like that could have been fleshed out a whole lot more.
I want more stuff on taxation.
Yeah, give me more
taxation. Taxation and a love story. Because when I think Star Wars, I think tax and love.
That's what George wanted. No,
love and tax.
You should know this. You spoke to him. Sure, that was this whole thing, right?
It was cool. It was such a nice man.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. What was that like? How did you go about sort of being brought on board for the project? How did the first meeting with George go? What was the process?
What did he smell like?
Garlic.
Smelled like magic.
Oh, just as I hoped.
He smelled like industrial light and magic. Total Skywalker. Well, he was just this fantastic guy, and I was contacted saying, "Are you free to go down to London on Tuesday to go meet the casting director of a new Star Wars film?" And I went, "Let me check. Yes, yes, please." So I went down the following Tuesday. This is like early on in my career too. I'd been working in radio for years as a sound designer. So my background is on the other side of the glass as an engineer and as a producer and a sound designer. I've created music libraries and sound effects libraries and all that. So it kind of all goes together. All these influences, like bit by bit. I came in from the production side of this, and then eventually I needed voices for my own work, and I taught myself just by learning from watching people who I thought were brilliant. So this is early on now. I've been doing bits of animation and was getting good at character stuff. I'm better now, but it was a hell of a good start. So, and I got asked to go down and meet Robin Gerland, who was the casting director for Star Wars, Phantom Menace. Now, of course, back then we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know what it looked like, what they sounded like, what the story was, anything. So I get to go down, and we met up in a there was a hotel that they got a room that they booked out there, and literally you're given a page with no context, no character title, and just some dialogue. And I said, military commander, evil, evil person, nice person, far away something, and you could have been auditioning for Darth Maul or Aks Moe or any you didn't really know, you didn't know the name of them and didn't know how it appeared in the story, but they were looking for voices and just a feel to the character, more than just a voice, but something that had felt like it had some life in it, some reality in it, something you can hang your hat on. So, because within reason, anyone that says they perform character voice or as an actor should be able to do certain party pieces, but this can't be a party piece. Anyone can do, their version of Kermit or whatever it might be. But what you need to do is, can you tell a story as that character and make it sound like it's just the guy talking to you? Because like you'll see stuff yourself, or it could be an animation or whatever, and you can hear him read him. You can just sometimes it's like, okay, that sounds great to me. Let's go for a meal. You want to get a cab or shall I drive? Maybe not quite that bad. It is so hot in here. I have to take off another layer. Boom shakalaka. And you kind of go, well, I think that my favorite character voice is the stuff that either makes me laugh or it keeps me entertained or just makes you want to spend more time in their company. Like chatting with anyone. For whatever, I was at a coffee shop today and bumped into somebody who was my little pup was with me, my little dog was with me. And these people were so kind to my little pup, being nice to her, and they were giving a fuss. So we just started talking because, you want to spend time with them. You want to just give, there's some reasonable people. And it's the same when you're creating character voices. You for whatever reason, you want people to want to spend time in their company, whether it's like pure joy or the character's a total rat bag. But there's something when you're creating it too that if you're on the other side of that and you're the director or the casting person, you also think about the bigger picture. Like, well, that would sound. I can imagine people going around trying to copy that at the playground, or if they're going to want to, it's repeatable. If you suddenly start speaking like Frank Oz did with Yoda, well, everyone's going to want to do their version of that. Mm-hmm. Same with Darth Vader, same with C-3PO, same with even like the beeps and boops that Ben Burt created for R2-D2. And I went through a bunch of characters with them, and there were a couple that kind of like gelled and jammed along with what they were doing. Because the other thing with casting is one thing that I think a lot of people can forget when they don't get a role is, well, why? Now, I was fortunate that I did get it, but one of the things that's easy to forget as any performer, really, is sometimes you might create something that's actually really good, really quite good. And in isolation, it's great. But it's got to sit within all the other characters. So it might be that you've done something that's really cool or funny or dramatic or just works in isolation, but put them with the rest of that family of characters, and it just doesn't quite mix right. And so I was just over the moon that I suppose what helped was the fact that it's kind of like, again, it's baked into you, like the feel of what you do. It's like, one of the first sounds that came out of my mouth. We do this Labyrinth project was, wow, that sounds fun. And it kind of like, for whatever reason, it just kind of like sounds in the zone. Even like the rhythm of the thing just kind of works. And so yeah, so I ended up getting cast as this character Aks Moe, AKS MOE for the transcription service. And it's, within the Star Wars world, it's a small character, but it's in Star Wars. It's that guy in Star Wars. And I have the proud and rare honor of being potentially the only character in episode 1 that there is like no merchandise of.
Wow.
Lies, slander, and lies. So Aks Moe has, from the original Star Wars trading card game, there is a card of Aks Moe,
Hang
and
on.
also, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Go on. You go ahead.
oh, and in not the most recent, it's the third set of Star Wars Unlimited. He appears on the card, favorable delegate, which is right here. I have it in my very hand. That's you.
Oh, right. I got to get a flight to wherever on earth in the world you are right now.
Come on over. I'll let you have this. You can have this card.
I'll tell you, Mark, I have 2 of those cards. You can have 2 of them.
Oh
In
my
fact, if you're going to make a deck, you can have up to 3 of the same card in any one deck. You want to play Star Wars Unlimited with us? Okay, come on.
You're on. I need to refine my previous statement to the right honourable gentleman. What I meant by the merch, I'm talking about like Funko Pops or toys.
Yes.
Yeah. The cards are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I like Topps Cards have done a number of series of things that I'm in. I did like a number of signings for Topps, and like hundreds of. I'd signed a lot, but it's an honor. It's a privilege to do that. In fact, I went over to Topps in New York, and I was thrilled to just be in the building because it's Topps. It's them, and they invited me there to just go and say hi. And now I'm very excited to be in that room. But the thing I hadn't thought of was they're excited that I was there because it's that guy from Thingy, it's that guy from Star Wars that's in our building today.
Yeah,
and it's a privilege, and one of the guys that was one of the main movers and shakers within the organization. He came over and he was very complimentary about what I do. And he said, "You do like a lot of voices, right? A lot of characters." I said, "Sure." I said, "You got like a list?" He said, "Because let's see what else we could do together." I showed this list. He's going, "Yeah, fine, yeah." What the hell? And then he let out every expletive under the sun. Go, Jesus, I don't want to. I mean, you're Bob the Builder? Because in America and Canada for nearly a decade, I was the voice that you heard as Bob the Builder. Well, I'm the voice that you heard as Bob the Builder. Not was, I still am. Bob the Builder. "Hi, Bob the Builder here. Can we fix it?" "Yes, we can." "Go on, Scoop, Mug, Dizzy, let's go." "Hi, Wendy. You look nice." So, and he went, "Oh my God." And he said, this guy said he very, very rarely gets starstruck because he said, "I get NBA stars here, NFL stars, actors, musicians. You're Bob the Builder, man." And he was, at first, you kind of go, "This is amazing," but it just shows the power of certain characters. And here's why: his son's favorite character was Bob the Builder, and he said to me, "We're having construction at the house right now, and each night my son waves goodnight to Rolly." And you kind of go, "That's fantastic." So I made sure that his son got a message from Bob. And and it's incredible, and even like, I mean, as a sidetrack, the power of these characters in like on a different level. You know how happy, whether it's Figment or Star Wars or Winnie the Pooh or any of these things, how happy they make you, and also the friendships that are formed by a love of these things. It brings people together, and you can be having a stinker of a day and stick on one of these movies or a parody of them, whatever it might be, and it puts you back in a place where you feel better. It's done you some good. I did quite a few Comic Cons, and and every now and then there'll be a fundraising thing, and I meet people from all kinds of backgrounds going through all kinds of stuff, and the impact that just talking to people that have for some reason, whatever way, fallen in love with certain characters is quite profound and it's quite special. I saw I used to go and do. I haven't done that for a while because of since the apocalypse, since COVID. But I used to go and do regular visits every sort of like quarter to the Children's Hospital in Birmingham, and I'd just go and spend half a day, and I'd take all the pictures we'd normally take to Comic-Con and just give them away and meet people and tell stories about whatever they wanted to know, and it was fun. And this one day there was a kid, and there were carers and doctors and patients, and all of them were there. And at the end of this one day, I'd packed everything up, and I just heard like a couple of people talking in front of me, popped up from nowhere, and it was this kid who his name was Luan, I remember very clearly, and he was sat there in this full-on electric wheelchair with the joystick and oxygen, with his mom and a nurse, and he'd heard that someone was in the building that was in Star Wars, and he somehow it had gone through the hospital, and he insisted they got him dressed, got him out of bed, into his special wheelchair with the oxygen and everything else, and insisted they went to his locker to get out his lightsaber. And he kind of go, oh my God, and it was so touching, the fact that they'd done. I said, I'd have come to you if I'd have known. And I said, right. And I opened my case up and I got all the photos out again. I said, right, whatever you want, it's yours. And all he wanted was just the Star Wars pictures. And even though he couldn't actually talk, we had a conversation. And not long after, I found out that I was going to do my first Star Wars symphony as the host for a Star Wars symphony at the Royal Albert Hall. And I got in touch with the head of the department at the hospital, the Children's Hospital here in Birmingham, in England, and just said, look, I'm doing this thing at the Royal Albert Hall. I've cleared it with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I've cleared it with the Royal Albert Hall. If there's one kid that should be there, it's him. What do we do? And they put a special team on it, and we got him down there.
Brilliant.
And he kind of go, it was pretty touching. I made sure we said hello to him beforehand and met him and the family, and got pictures and signed everything for him, and we got him this like the best seat in the house, and it was this lovely thing, and we lost him a few years later, and his mom got in touch to say thank you, and she said she wanted me to know that it was the happiest day he'd ever had in his life, because he'd never had the chance to do anything like that. She said she hadn't, but it was. I'm so glad that we were able to do that for him. And it goes back, just what we were saying before about just bringing people together in whatever way that is. And, sometimes it's easy to forget just the effect it has on people's lives, whatever it is, whatever the story is of the film or the band or the actor or the shared interest. But that's really important. And I love the fact that with so many of these Comic-Cons, it brings these people together, and you can go and sit on a table with a bunch of strangers, and you'll all have a conversation, or you'll see people in cosplay that it might be that normally they're too shy to go out to something like that, but when they're playing the role of their favorite character with just that costume on, they're living it. Mm-hmm. And it gives them, it's like it gives them permission to go out and say hello. And it's quite an incredible thing what these characters can. There's another layer there that it can be on whatever you want. This collector stuff. It might just be that you're a collector that's bonkers for Star Wars. Oh, Daddy. So there's that. I can see your shelves. But, by the way, saying that, when Phantom Menace did come out, it was such an exciting thing, obviously, to be part of. And I went to see it, the casting group thing I mentioned earlier. And I mean, Rick McCallum stood in front of the screen before it started. He was heavily part of that. Apologies that George couldn't be there. He was just having to be George.
He was taking cello lessons.
Now we know why. Damn it. Finally figured out that mystery. And so seeing him there again was very exciting. And of course, we're all thrilled to bits seeing this film for the first time, not even really knowing what we were putting together. Oh, by the way, seeing our friend just behind you on the wall there, when I was recording my lines at Abbey Road Studios, which again, just being in that room was incredible. There was a guy before me. I was probably just sat like waiting just in this little area, up in the studio, so you could hear everything that was being recorded. There's guys from Skywalker Sound on the desk, on the mixing desk, and two guys from Abbey Road Studios just in like this waiting like area. So we're still in the studio in the control room, but we just sat aside. And so if Skywalker needed any support, they would just come in and they're just there if you need them. That's the kind of level of service you got. But there was this guy performing this character, and I didn't know who he was because none of us knew who each other were at that point because it was it was so NDA'd up. Don't tell. And it turned out it was Ahmed Best. And I just remember seeing this, this cool guy, and nobody knew that it was Jar Jar at the time. And if you think of what he's gone through with all the reaction, that he had to go through because of Jar Jar, he had a tough time, and he's the most lovely man. And I met him for the first time a few years back at a Comic-Con, and it was just great. Like have an actual proper chat with him, and he's just this really cool dude. And we share a thing in common. He has a Star Wars pinball machine.
Yeah.
They did the voice for, or just has it to own? Did he do
as part of an episode 1 Star Wars pinball machine?
Brilliant. Because he still does. He does the voices for the pinball. He does the voices for all the animated stuff, the Lego animated stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
And now he's a comic coming out with both of his Star Wars characters in.
It's yeah. Have you met him?
No, I'd love to.
Nice,
Our dream, our hope for this year, one of our podcast goals is to have you on, but also to have Ahmed Best on.
That's very kind of you. Good recovery there, Adam. Did you see what he did there?
That
Mention me first, like him.
his two favorite characters, Jar Jar Binks and Coco the Monkey.
That's it. Which he just loves while he's just got his feet up eating a bowl of rice.
Yeah.
White rice.
But yeah, Ahmed Best, that's it. He went through so much, but it's great to see a character like Jar Jar and Ahmed to get another go through Quiller and Beck and Mandalorian, and just to see the fans embracing him for everything he's done. It's great for that to happen. But yeah, it must have been so interesting to kind of be going into the studios, seeing all these people who at the time, as you say, you didn't know, like you didn't know what you were kind of putting together. You just kind of had an idea. But what was it like? You sort of mentioned there, George's magic. He smells of magic. He's a lovely dude. But what was it like getting directed by him? Because you hear so many stories about how he's very focused on his craft and the effect of the thing, and he loves adding to it, as we see with the special editions. But how did you find him as a voiceover artist? Because he's very into his animation, like he's really into animation. So how did you find coming from a world of animation? Did he talk to you about animation? Did he talk to you about voiceover work?
It was pretty simple. The first thing he did was offer me a crisp.
Nice. What flavor?
Ready salted.
Oh.
He's the first. I mean, I was just. It was this like otherworldly experience being there, which sounds over the top. But if you're a massive fan of something, you'll start to appreciate what it would have been like, especially Star Wars, and especially at that point in time, the fact we didn't know, we just knew I'm in a new Star Wars. So anyway, so I was just thrilled to pieces. It was the last time I remember being truly nervous, waiting in the lobby downstairs. I walk into Abbey Road. First of all, just being there was a big deal. And then I was sitting on the sofa in the lobby for about 20 seconds, just going, "What the hell am I doing here?" Because it was still early in my career doing this, performing, being a voice actor. And then I kind of got it together and thought, "Do you know what? No, I'm here because George Lucas liked something that he heard me do, or trusted the casting director that liked something that I do." And he goes, "That's pretty amazing." And it kind of like gives you the confidence then to kind of go, "You know what? I think this is going to be good. It's pretty cool."
Mhm.
And um, and I'd done a film before that called Chicken Run. So that was pretty amazing to be part of that too. Anyway, so going back to this, I walk into the walk into the room, and they said, "Go in there. We're going to go and take 5. You just go into the voice room and just get comfy, and we'll be right back." And so you go, great. So I go in there just ready to it's an empty room, and there was one person in the room, and it was George Lucas. and it's like it was just exciting and a privilege and a thrill and all those words. And he went, "Hi, Mark." And I just say, you've got like a lifetime's worth of thoughts that you know that you should just really say in 2 seconds. I said, "It's just I said, thank you so much for bringing me in. It's a privilege to work with you, meet you." And he said, "Sure." He said, "Would you like a potato chip?" And it's one of these things where it's like a silly moment, but I remember it very clearly. And I said, "Thank you for the offer, George." I said, "I won't, because it will make me a bit crunchy during the recording session." And all my internal thoughts, all I could think was, "I've just turned down a potato chip from George Lucas. I should have taken the crisp and put it in a bell jar and saved it until they invent eBay." Yeah. I think you imagine it's like manky, like mold-ridden crisp.
Yeah.
That would
George
have
Lucas's
held onto it.
crisp.
No, but he was lovely. And then really, again, I was still like, you've got to make that first. They showed me the footage, and they'd already filmed the animatronic of Aks Moe and got a guide voice to do the line, which I'm basically dubbing. Now, normally the best way of doing it is you record your performance first, and like with animation, they animate or puppeteer to what your voice track's done, because otherwise you're limited to somebody else's performance. And what I remember hearing this guy, and it was this guy that just went, "The Congress of Master concur with the right honourable delegate for the Trade Federation. Commission must be appointed. That is the law." And then the lips on Aks Moe going, and of course, so I've got to make sure that my performance in the character voice fits with that, and it's tricky because it's just a guy saying the words, and so to do it where the character voice, you want to like give certain breaks, and there's a rhythm and a pattern that you've kind of created for this character, and you've got to make it work somehow. So in the end, it was sort of, the direction ended up being high and fast, because it's like that's all you had because of that, and it worked, and so the truth was, just to get a sound out of my face, they took a level from me, a mic level check. And just because I don't know, you just try and make the most of the moment. I did the first version as Sylvester the Cat. going, "The Congress of Malastare concur with the right honourable delegate for the Trade Federation. The commission must be appointed. You're despicable." I did it for 2 reasons. One was to kind of like just get a sound out, and to try and make them laugh, I suppose. And it kind of got a giggle, and then of course, anybody that goes in there is going to be trying to impress them. And the thing is, just do what you were there for this particular one. I like playing in sessions, but you have to read the room and kind of, if you know it's okay to play, that's great. But with this one, if you imagine they've been recording all day, they just wanted to get the lines done, but they were very gracious and they laughed and they went, that's great. Can we do it in the voice we talked about, please? So, so it was basically we kept going and higher and higher and higher and faster, and then eventually we found something that worked. And I was also a Nemoidian called Tae Hao, and that was stripped right back and they ended up. I think George Lucas's daughter ended up doing that, but there's still this, even though she's credited as Tae Hao, it's a spider, I think it is, on the film. There's still a moment of me in that film as Tae Hao, which they didn't swap over to Tiger. And you hear me going, yes, sir. Okay. That's me. I know that's me. Mm-hmm. So I can still claim to be the voice of 2 syllables of Tae Hao and much more as the voice of Aks Moe in Star Wars Episode 1.
And there is a Tai Hao figure, I believe. It's not labeled as Tai, but I think, can you not get one of those wee Nemoidian, like, Trade Federation ship, like, pilot types?
That seems very likely. I mean, of course, what you really want, I mean, someone actually had one made for me as a gift, an Aks Moe, which is basically reuse. Yeah. It's very similar to reuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just change the outfit. That's it. Just give him a new outfit, and it's
give him a new dressing gown.
And is just looking behind you, you have the head of Reese Aks Moe.
No, I don't.
Was that a gift?
No,
what am I talking about? No, Aks Moe's head here.
Look at my beautiful hand. Beautiful. Look at the moisturizer on that thing.
It could be a hand model if the voice acting doesn't work out. Hand model.
My beautiful cuticles.
So that's it for part 1 of the Marc Silk conversation. As you can tell, I shouldn't use Wikipedia for all my answers, but let me just say this now, while we're halfway through the conversation. On Marc Silk's website, it says that he played the Cocoa Pops monkey, and I will stand by it. It says on his website, Danny. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, that's it. Wikipedia would not be a legit source, especially if you're doing a university dissertation. Not that I ever did such a thing. Well, I did a university dissertation, but I did not use Wikipedia as a reference. But yeah, to have it on the actual voice actor's webpage, you assume it's going to be accurate, So I think Mark needs to speak with his web team about that and just pick up on it. We'll chat with him. We'll get him on again. We'll bring it up. We'll jar him about it.
Exactly.
But yes, we hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, and tune in on Friday to hear the rest. As we said at the start, like it was great having him on and just having the time to just chat about like his work, his passions, his enthusiasm for animation and for voiceover, and just a real fun guy and up for a bit of crack,
Yes, so join us on Friday for more fun and shenanigans in the stars with the same guest, Marc Silk. And we'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was time for the jungle holiday. We packed up our goodies and we're on our way. Crafty Croc was after our breakfast treat. Left the bus stuck up the mountain 1,000 feet. Oh no! Cocoa. Then I had a notion with my magic chocolatey breakfast